Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you all to our live webinar on impact of COVID-19 on life insurance way forward. COVID-19 had a far-reaching disruptive effect world over. Life insurance too is not an exception. In coming months, selling life insurance would not be easy, but still people will now understand the importance of purchasing, and in future demand must increase. Already, we can see people using the digital medium to purchase term policies and other kind of plans. But there are a lot of factors which needs to be considered to analyze the impact of COVID. We have a very important panel today who will share their thoughts and discuss the various issues threadbare. Today's session will be moderated by Professor Manoj Kumar Pandey, Chairperson, Center for Corporate Communication and Associate Professor of Insurance Marketing, BIMTech. Professor Pandey is an established practitioner and trainer in the field of life and medical insurance for over 28 years now. So before I hand over the session to Professor Pandey, let me briefly introduce our organization. If you can just tap off your camera.
Tap off?
Yeah. So we already have 250 participants and hope more would be joining soon. So basically, Risk Management Association is an NGO engaged in the promotion of risk management culture in India. The basic objective of our association is to promote awareness about risk management and insurance and act as a platform for insurance professionals, bankers, corporates to share their experience, thoughts for betterment of the industry. We also encourage research and development in this field and provide courses and webinars in risk management and allied areas. Here is a list of our governing council members. This body was started way back in 1992 by Mr. R.J. Agrawala. And since then, this association has come a long way. We have with us Professor Abhijit Chaturaj, who is the Chartered Insurer and Chairperson Insurance Program at BIMTech. And he has been associated with us since inception. Then we have Mr. Sanjoy Kumar, who is a certified risk professional and IRM India ambassador. We also have Mr. K.L. Naik, who is an authority in reinsurance. And he has authored more than 5 books on reinsurance. We also have a very strong advisory council. We have Mr. Kamalji Sahai, ex-MD, Star Union, Mr. B.D. Banerjee, ex-CMD, Oriental Insurance, Mr. G. Srinivasan, ex-CMD, New India and current Director, NIA, Pune, Mr. K.K. Mishra, ex-CMD, Tata AIG, and a lot of other senior people from the industry. We also have a lot of experts from different segments, insurance, banking, corporate, who are associated with us. We also offer a number of membership criteria, membership to our number of memberships, ranging from student to fellow. And we have, in corporate member, we have a lot of members, but notably BIMTech and BIMTech is playing a very credible role in promoting education and awareness along with Dalmia Bharat Cement, Mr. Surat Mukherjee. So we have created a knowledge center at our portal where people can log in and access to resources related to risk management, insurance, various reports, certification. Last year, we conducted a technical research. So where we received a lot of responses, and we published this book from the winners of the contest. Last year, we also organized a risk management seminar at Mumbai, which was quite successful with participation of more than 250 people from cross section of the industry. And we also published this quarterly bulletin. Again, we are into this field of insurance education for now more than 40 years. So our group publication, this Insurance Times, was the first journal on insurance in India. And we have a magazine on life insurance too. So we also have 2 knowledge portals on insurance and banking. So you can anytime access for more detailed info. So for more details, you can visit our website for the details. So before handing over the session to Mr. Pandey, we will be having the question answer session at the end. So preferably, please keep your questions short and 1 question for 1 participant. So Mr. Pandey, you can now take over.
Thank you. Thank you, Rakesh ji. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you, Rakesh ji, for giving this opportunity under the banner of Risk Management Association of India. It's indeed a privilege for us to be together and discuss something which is very crucial for the industry as such. I started my career with LIC in 1992 and have been with the insurance industry for 20 years and now for last year in academics. I've been underwriter in retail line of business and also in the group life of business. Group life underwriting is very easy. It's basically driven by exclusions only. And there I used to see something called nuclear, chemical and biological warfare as an exclusion. And that was something which was acceptable to all the customers. Nobody questioned it. Why are you having this kind of exclusion? I could imagine the destruction arising out of a nuclear war, maybe even chemical war, because we have seen the firewall of Hiroshima from our childhood. Even we had Chernobyl disaster in Russia. Biological, again, some good old movie of World War II, gas poison, that gas chamber. Even some news coming from the Middle East, use of different kind of gases. But I could never imagine what can be the situation in a biological war. Of course, Corona is not at all a biological war, but I wish it could have been, because at least the impact would have been limited to a particular geography, maybe between 2-3 countries only. This has become a silent killer, and before the world could understand the implication, it was spread across the globe. Right now, almost all the countries have been infected. Already more than 3 million people have got infection. I think yesterday only we have crossed the death figure of 200,000. Of course, the biggest and the superpower country, America, is the worst sufferer. So much happening, so much negative things are happening. All of us are in a situation where we don't know what will be the future in coming days. And that's the situation. 3 things are getting affected directly. One is the health, people getting infected and getting into hospital. Worst part is that 2 or 3% mortality rate, maybe out of 100, 4-5 people, or maybe 4-5% mortality are dying. So death is a second casualty. And again, the combined casualty is coming on the business side, where the shutdown, because of shutdown, all the business activities are closed, and we have business interruption, loss of profit, loss of job, and so many things. Now, taken together, all these 3, death, health, death, and business, is all related with our insurance domain. And people are looking to the insurance sector to get the help. People, those who are in their hospital bed, they're expecting insurance company to come forward, relax the norm, and help them out. Then people who have died, of course, they are not there, so the nominee was expecting a very prompt settlement of the death claim. And the worst part is in the general insurance business, where everyone is looking forward to get the benefit from the insurance sector. Sector itself is in trouble. All the offices are closed. We were, in spite of the fact that we talk of so much of digitalization, but definitely all the offices were not on the digital platform. So there was disruption in the office, disruption of the operation. And then, in Indian condition, March month is supposed to be the heaviest in terms of new business, even in settlement of claim. So we as the industry itself has to learn so many things. So good that you have called this panel discussion, and we will be learning from each other and understanding what kind of circumstances we have faced, what is there in the near future, and what could be the impact for the longer duration. So to discuss this matter, we have with a very strong panel. So in the picture, just next to me is Mr. Amit Roy. He has been in life insurance industry from the beginning itself, served in the Bajaj Life Insurance, then served in the Reliance Life Insurance. And for last 2-3 years, he's with the PwC, how big that brand name is, doing good of research. Below me in the frame, Mr. Amit Malik, basically a person from HR background, but for last 4-5 years in Aviva Life Insurance, he has been involved in all the activities. And presently, he is the Chief of People, Operation and the Customer Service. Next to Mr. Malik is Mr. Sanjay Jha. Of course, he is my batchmate from LIC days. He served a long inning in Bajaj Life and then with Future Generali Life. And for last 8 years, he is working in Gulf in Muscat, working with a company, very reputed company by the name Oman United Insurance Company. He is General Manager Life and Health. So we have someone who can help us in health related issue. And then of course, I doubt whosoever is from the life insurance industry will not be knowing Nilesh Sathe sir, a role model for many of us, a person who started his career as a banker, then switched to LIC, went up to the hierarchy of executive director, then was deputed by government to the, not deputed, selected and posted in IRDA, our regulatory authority, as a member life. And from there, sir, got retired last year itself. So this is a very power-packed audience. I mean, everybody, one consultant, one regulator, and then 2 people fighting on the war, fighting from the front. So I will start this discussion with the 2 people who are on the war footing, war front. So I will invite Amit Malik ji, because you are facing the music right now, being actively involved in the day-to-day operation of the Aviva Life Insurance Company. So simple question to you, Amit ji. Things have started moving in February. We started getting the hint that there's something wrong is going to happen. Many of the organizations started giving work from home in the middle of the March itself. And then on 23rd or 22nd, we got the lockdown. Immediately, everything suspended. So how was the preparation at Aviva? And how have you been coping with this situation? That too in a month, which is supposed to be the heaviest and busiest in the life insurance industry. Over to you, Amit ji.
Okay, thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity. It's an honor to be here in such an esteemed panel, and thank you to hello to my co-panelists. Professor Pandey, you've asked a very relevant question, which we were asking ourselves 2 weeks before the actual lockdown happened, to say what happens, what's our BCP? So, 2 weeks before we started a crisis management team at Aviva to say that, let's take our BCP plans, dust them and put them into action, because this was the time to do that. But, when you look at all the plans at that time, we were thinking whether we should be able to work with 50% workforce, 30% workforce, what will the government do? But there was no plan that accounted for 100% lockdown. And, as I say, the world came to a stop, right? Everything stopped. You couldn't move outside your house. And there was no BCP plan that could cater to that. So I think that was the first challenge that not only us, but everyone in the industry felt. And when I spoke to my counterparts in other organizations, we were all facing the same challenge. Because, in a BCP plan, when you have a DR site and you can run almost 80% of your operations, but in a situation you couldn't travel. So, wherever your DR site is, you couldn't travel to that DR site. And the important part is it not only happened to us, it also happened to our vendors who provide services to us. So I think that impact happened. How did we come out of it, or how did we counter it? Is that 2 weeks of CMT had actually given us a head start in terms of technology, in terms of mobilizing people, understanding what challenges are from work from home. But we were 50-60% already in control. But what we did was we started to keep the customer at the center and said, let us just focus on everything that we need to do from a customer standpoint. And I think, reaching out to the customer or enabling the customer became such a key focus of the organization to keep everything running. And I know that is there, but as I always say, the challenges and the roadblocks are what makes the team come through. So we took small actions, like you said. March is a very important month, and we took actions about how do we ensure that we start to get the business that had logged in to be issued. That was a big challenge. You couldn't get the medicals done because there was lockdown. So how did you start to look at new ways of doing medical, talking to video MERs and stuff like that? How do you reach a customer from a existing business standpoint? I think that became a focus. How do we enable a customer to start to use digital means and educate a customer to use digital means? Because a lot of customers needed education and hand holding to go digital in this time. So I think those were the couple of things that we did from a preparation standpoint.
If at all I ask you, what was the percentage, loss to the business, or maybe how many claim settlement you could not settle in this particular crucial time?
So let me tell you, well, it is now public news, and Amit from PwC would also validate that. March, the whole life insurance industry's numbers are down by 35%. Right? And when the industry was down with that number, we are no exception. So we had our own impact of that, what we saw. But I think what we also need to understand is that there was a larger impact on the new business standpoint, and we were still able to salvage a lot of our existing business and the renewal premiums, because that's where we knew the customer and we could handle them and get them to use digital. But I think from a new business standpoint, we absolutely had an impact of what we could do to get the new business. I think I must commend the regulator here for stepping up very, very proactively, to give grace period to the customers, for the government to extend the financial year till June. And I think the regulator was in constant touch with each and every life insurance company to understand what our challenges were and how we were coping up. And I think that I actually saw a great exhibition of partnership between a regulator and a life insurer company, where I think both of them came together to say, how do we manage the customer? But yes, I think this impact of March and the loss of business will be across companies and across industries felt for next 6 to 9 months to come. There is no shying away from that impact.
Amit, since you are from the HR background, one very specific question. This lockdown and this work from home it was imposed on us, maybe not ready. But have you done any analysis and can figure it out that maybe then days to come, years to come, there could be a less requirement of manpower in the office setup, thereby giving people a privilege of not commuting, and maybe the company saving a cost on the infrastructure basis? Any hint or any analysis so far?
So actually what we did was, once this whole lockdown started to happen, we started to ask ourselves that question, that how do we gauge and make our employees productive? And to do maximum employees productive, we started to understand who was at what productivity level. We did our own benchmarks internally to look at saying, where were people? Were they at 100%, 80%, some were 120, some were 40. And we started to look at this whole process to say, how do we make more employees productive? I think that was important, whether it was through VPN, whether it was through, virtual desktops, whether it was through shipping more laptops. How do we start to get people productive? Because you need to understand, and I will wear my HR hat to answer this question here. You need to understand that when people work from home, they also work at home. So, that is one part of the life that you need to focus on. And the second is, there are people who get anxious because they are not able to contribute as much as other members of the teams are doing. And how do you also, as a leader, start to focus on that anxiety? Because a lot of people have this thing, I am not able to do, I don't have a laptop at home. I used to work on a desktop, or I am in call center, and how do I take as much calls as I can? How do I become more productive? How do I start to answer more questions? So that is a challenge, where on work from home, I think, Professor Pandey, while there is this whole talk about, saying we will not need work, and one of the leading technology companies has come out in the paper today saying 75% of the workforce going forward will work from home. As I see it, I think it's going to be a mix of people who will want to come to work and people who will want to stay at home, depending on their life stage. If you are a young mother, or if you are a caregiver, or if you take 2 hours to commute, you would want to use the opportunity of working from home 2 or 3 days a week rather than 5 days of coming to office. But look at a working couple who may want to go to work because going to work keeps them helps them keep work and personal life balanced. Or there are a lot of people who thrive in human element, human touch, working as a team, collaboration. So it'll have to cater to each and everyone. A lot of youngsters in our teams today, when I ask them, are saying they are waiting for the lockdown to get over because they want to come home, they want to come to the office, and they are all Gen Z, Gen Y, who want to come to the office and contribute, because there's also this whole concept of collaboration and working together. So I think it's a mix and a match. I don't see that drastic shift of 75% people working from home, but I think it will start to get a little more balanced. So if the organizations were 10-20%, they will move to 35-40%. I think the balance will come somewhere. That's
Okay,
my
thank
view.
you. Now let me get Mr. Sanjay Jha, and my same question, because now he's working in different geography. Middle East is very dear to us, very close for us. So what has been the situation in Middle East, Sanjay, and what was the preparation in your office itself?
Hi, good afternoon to every panelist and all participants. It's my pleasure to be here and share my thoughts. I will give some background of Middle East. I mean, slightly difference in insurance market, insurance working. Primarily, like most of the companies here are composite insurance companies. So we have life and general, everything is here in one company. I take care of life and typically here, like employee benefit, everything. So life and health is one division and motor and non-motor is other division. So I take care of life and health part. So coming back to your question, Mr. Manoj, see Gulf, I mean, particularly Oman or all Gulf countries, we're facing the problem of reducing oil price. If I look at, see, last year in May, the price was some $70. This year, February, it was 53. Now it is 22. So we are having problem. Before this COVID, we had been facing this reducing oil prices problem, because the majority of economy, some 80% economy is based on oil sector, so directly or indirectly. So with this, then came this COVID thing. To be very frank, I mean, none of us, even now today, nobody knows for sure that how long it is going to happen, and many things about this COVID-19 is not known even today. So we do not know whether it is 1 month affair, whether it is 10 months affair, whether lockdown will continue or it will be relaxed and it will be again. Lockdown will happen depending on how the general population react in terms of infection. So I would like to slightly, touch base upon this COVID thing. The unique thing about this is that the infection is very, strong. I mean, infection rate is high compared to a normal flu. The fatality is higher. For normal flu, fatality is lesser than what COVID-19 fatality is there. And the worst part is that asymptomatic people who have no symptoms, they are able to spread very strongly. So you are not knowing that somebody is not knowing that he is COVID infected, and then he is spreading the disease for 10 days or 1 week, and then finally symptoms keep showing up. Sometimes it doesn't. So if you look at the nature of this virus or a spread or disease, then things as of now things do not look. It doesn't give you any comfort or any clarity. Any clarity as to how long this situation will continue. So if I come back to specific question, initially what happened? That initially working from home, that gave people, the team member excitement. They were more comfortable. I mean, the productivity went up. But ultimately, if you looked on, the monitoring becomes issue if it is a long duration thing. So how the people are initially, maybe they are very productivity has gone up, but maybe in long run, the productivity may not remain at same level. If I come back to a specific insurance domain, here, life insurance particularly, there are two types of life insurance happening. One is credit life. I mean, banks give loan, and typically all banks, when giving loan, they insure the borrowers. So loan could be personal loan could be motor loan could be housing loan, so mortgage loan. So all these loans are typically insured by banks, and we have tie-up with big banks, and then anybody buys, anybody gets a loan, and then automatically we insure. So that is one major part of life business, and another part is group life employee benefits. So there is hardly any savings product or any individual buying, that is typically very limited. So not much to discuss about that part. So majorly we have these two products in life. And distribution, if I talk of distribution, then we have majorly broker and banker and some corporate. Individual, we have branches and branches do produce, but then they are producing everything. They are selling motor, they are selling travel, they are
How
selling
could you
health.
manage? I mean, what about the impact on the operation part? That is the main crucial element. And how could you learn? I mean, you could learn something how to manage it.
Yeah, coming to that, see, the lockdown started so sudden all across the world, or this part also in India also, that at initial when we tried to initially, we all branches were open. So even, I mean, servicing part, we ensured that no customer gets impacted, either renewal or claim. So even the staff strength is reduced. So branches, I mean, there is 1% or 2% who is visiting branch and doing all services. Head office, 30%, 40% staffs are coming even today. I mean, 20% people are coming. So we try to ensure that all services are ensured seamless to all customers. But when I try to give all staff work from home, I mean, market vendors were not ready to supply laptop also. So we had that crisis also at small level, that we had personal laptops. We tried to use that. We tried to get something from market. The vendors were not ready. So we had these challenges. And if you look at long term, if it is going to happen for 4 or 5 months, then we have to think of altogether a new strategy. So whatever we have done for 1 month or 2 months, that is not going to work for 6 months or 8 months.
Okay, Sanjay, you deal with the reinsurance market also for your own division, life and medical. So you must be interacting with the big reinsurance company. I know you deal with the very bigger one. So what has been their feedback, and what kind of filler you can get from them? Response of the reinsurance companies in this situation.
See, reinsurer, as far as our treaty goes, life insurance, there is no exclusion with respect to any epidemic. So, of course, any death due to COVID-19 is definitely covered. But then there are typical situations like, you know, that in here with life, we have WC, workman compensation, as top up. And then the situation comes that somebody, suppose in WC, somebody is infected and he is forced, isolated at home. So in that case, whether TTD benefit will be payable or not. So there are few areas which are suddenly very unique. Nobody has thought on these things before. I mean, somebody is forced to stay at home in sickness condition, and then he has to exhaust his leave, whether we will be compensating his salary loss or not. So there are some issues which, as of now, what we are getting comfort from reinsurer, that they are going to honor all claims. Even otherwise, we have followed the fortune clause. So whatever we pay, they will definitely pay. More or less all. I mean, we deal with A-rated reinsurers, and they are giving comfort that they will be honoring all claims. But
what about medical? Because
medical, there is exclusion. Medical, the COVID is exclusion. Any WHO declared epidemic is exclusion. But then the good thing for us in Oman, that government has announced that any treatment, any testing related to COVID for expat or for citizen would be taken care of by government. So
that's a big relief.
That's a big relief. But I mean, COVID, till the time there are symptoms like flu, so definitely we have to cover. So we cannot deny anything. So till the time we do not know it is COVID, so exclusion does not apply.
Okay, thank you. And now coming to another Amit Roy. Now he is with the PwC, and this company is known for getting so much of research, good output. So before I go to any specific question to you, Amit, would you like to say something general about this? What kind of findings you are having at PwC level? And then I will come to two specific questions to you.
Sure, Manoj. Am I audible?
Yeah.
So good afternoon, all the panelists, and good afternoon, all the participants. I think in terms of survey and research, like Manoj, you said, PwC has been on the forefront since the time that pandemic started. And in this pandemic, something that we could foresee from the very beginning, in fact, as early as December, is that it's going to have some impact that has never been seen before. And, in PwC, two surveys are very well known. One is called Banana Skin Survey, which is for the CEOs. We get the responses from them. And the other is the Pulse Survey, which typically comes from the CFOs. We kind of ran similar kind of surveys very quickly to understand and estimate the impact of that. And let me not quote numbers here, but if I can tell you impact in the most logical manner. Let's say in China in February, the impact was assessed that 22% drop in PMI. PMI is Purchase Manager Index, which actually signifies in layman's language how much the business is going to get impacted in terms of procurement, could be export, import, everything globally. Now, level on 22%, a mere drop of 2% for India in terms of exports from China means loss of through 48 million US dollar for Indian economy. And remember that we are only talking about hardly 3 or 4 sectors like manufacturing, maybe chemical, maybe heavy industries, some part of pharma and all of that. I think just to take from Amit's earlier point on BCP, as PwC, we thought that 6 areas are going to be extremely important on a short and medium term. You heard about BCP from Amit, and hats off to the industry. With very limited resources, like he was mentioning about the DEERs that everybody had, everybody has done a commendable job across the globe in terms of ensuring that customers get the services and all of that. But the challenge really started from that. I think employees' morale and safety, we assess that one of the big issue would be there in the coming days. Maybe initially it's fun to work from home, but not everybody's home can have office-like situation. There can be challenges and all of that. What happens to the morale? Now we are talking about operational people. What about the sales people who are used to that rara? They need their morning huddles and all of that. That's the challenge. How do you ensure that there is no challenge on the market conduct basis? We do not know that. The third area that we think that could be the crisis management task force. Maybe on a short term it works well. On a long term, what happens? Like Sanjay said, if we do not know if the COVID impact is there for another 6 to 10 months, what happens to the entire crisis management part? We do not know that. Something that I would like to bring on here in terms of our research is the capital requirement for the insurance companies. You know that mostly it is on government securities for across the globe insurance companies because of the reserves that we maintain here. Now, if I quote India here, everybody can expect that bond rates will go down. Now, if bond rates go down and if they have to infuse capital in these very trying circumstances, I think it's going to be a very tough call for everyone. And last but not the least, on the IT infrastructure, maybe initially you supplied with some laptops, some desktop and things like that. Now we are actually on the fringes of IT security. Every day I interact with the cyber security team. You cannot imagine the impact of attacks which are happening. Very recently, there has been a very, very major attack of ransomware in a very well-known IT firm, which has got ramifications even in insurance industry. So these are the areas where we see challenges, Manoj, in coming days.
That's true. Even in education industry, if all the university and colleges are asked to go for the online teaching, where is the bandwidth with the companies? That's the big question. And everywhere we are talking of everyone going for the online. Two specific question to you, and very short answer I expect because of time frame. What kind of changes are you expecting in product and distribution space?
Let me start with distribution. That's very close to my heart. I think distribution is going to see huge changes. Last about a decade, every insurer has supplied the frontline salespeople with those tabs and all, but they had their challenges, and the process was manual. Only the inputs were in on that digital space. For the first time, the frontline salespeople are actually attempting to sell. And only a couple of days back, I was interacting with a chief distribution officer of one of the leading insurance company. Happy to share that 50% of their agency sales are now happening in terms of not meeting the customer. That's a very encouraging situation for us, right? The second thing on distribution that I personally foresee is that a better gender diversity. Why do I say so? Is that if this kind of digital sales and work from home happens, you will see a lot more ladies coming and joining insurance distribution, and that would be much needed, because based on the countries where the penetration is highest, like Japan, is women who are dominating the sales force, right? And
That's
the third
very
thing,
point.
on third thing on distribution is that I think the connect to the customer in terms of acceptability of agents as a profession. I think, that thanks to the pandemic effect, I think the status of the agent will go up. And that's again a very happy news. On the product a lot, Manoj, I think product should be taken separately. But I personally feel that, in life insurance product, we'll see challenges in renewal. And possibly people will like to take liquidity in hand. And that's not a good news for insurance industry, at least on the life side. I don't think that people will get into a lot of long-term investment now. So I feel that there could be a slowdown on annuity product. Again, entirely my own personal assessment, not a PwC one. Yes, Amit.
No, I just wanted to add on to what you were saying, and that's the experience that we are getting, especially with so much of volatility in the stock markets and economy. People are wanting to hold their money rather than go in and to renew, and that is actually a feedback that is coming. And even in renewal, when you look at it, there is a marked shift between traditional renewals and ULIP unit-linked renewals that we can see, even though it's early days. But I think that's a trend that will surely pick up. So I'm with you on that. Thank you.
Now,
Whereas-
I will go to now. Acha,
Yeah.
okay, one more
Just
thing,
one-
but very quick one. Yes, please.
Just one thing that I would like to add to what Amit said. Actually, ironically, this is the best time to do top up in ULIP.
Yeah, I know.
And people are missing out on that.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to bring Nilesh Sathe, sir. So this is a very testing time for the regulatory body across the globe, because at one side they have the poor customer suffering, irrespective of what kind of terms and conditions were put in the, and then you have to save their insurance company also. So how do you see, sir, this situation, and how difficult this time is for even a regulator, sir?
Yes. Professor Pandey, you have asked a very relevant question. It's really a testing time for everybody, and so is for the regulator as well. So the first is the mission of regulator is always to protect the customers. The protection of policyholders is the main motto of the regulator. Now, how does he protect? The first is, as a regulator, IRDA has issued instructions. Number one, no claim should be denied on account of COVID. Whether included, excluded, specifically included, specifically excluded, whatever it is. If there is a death claim and it says that the patient has died of COVID, no claim should be denied. This is one part of it. Right, wrong, I am not onto that. I'm only looking at what the customer is, how the customer is being taken care of by the regulator. This is one part. Second is, as rightly said, the regulator was quite active on asking the insurance companies to give extension of period for payment of premium by 30 days. And the grace period has been increased accordingly by all the insurance companies. So this was also a welcome move, although it may marginally impact the profitability, no doubt about it. Actually, all the measures taken by the regulator are definitely going to impact profitability, no doubt about it. But today, what is more important is not profitability, but survival. So how do we survive in the market today is more important. And from that point of view, the regulator has taken this stand. And the third most important thing that the regulator has done is asking the TPAs to settle the claims within 2 hours. After the hospitals lodge the claims to the TPAs, they have instructed that the TPA must settle the claim within 2 hours of lodgement. So these are the 3 important announcements that the regulator has made. In my opinion, if there are anything more, because since I am not today actively involved with IRDA functioning, I think these are the 3 ones which are the major ones. And one major one, which is definitely going to be, what I say, not a good announcement for the insurance companies, is that a regulator has said that we are not going to give you any leeway on solvency margin as well as capital. Now, this definitely will be hard burning for the insurance companies, no doubt about it. But then let us not think about it today. As everybody knows that the capital once put into insurance company cannot be withdrawn back by the promoters. Secondly, when the business keeps growing, you need more and more capital to be pumped in. Now look at the present scenario. As Amit and everybody has said, the days going ahead are going to be very tough. From marketing point of view as well, NB new business is definitely going to be impacted. Another 6-9 months are going to be very tough. Claims as well as surrenders are going to increase because, as is shared by Amit from Aviva, that he has been seeing some trend that people want cash in hand more than keeping the money into insurance companies. So these are the challenges. Now the question is, if that happens, will the insurance companies really need additional capital? In my opinion, not much. This is one part. Second is, as a regulator doesn't want to give any sort of concession at this point of time for the promoters, because promoters should be prepared for all sorts of eventualities. And this pandemic is one eventuality which they must have thought of. So from this point of view, as a regulator, these are the 4 major calls the insurance regulator in India has taken. You may like it or not. One of my friends was saying that when there are specific exclusions on pandemics, how is it that a regulator can force the insurance companies to settle the claims on account of pandemic? Yes, there is definitely substance in what he says. Probably if the matter moves to court, but I'm sure nobody will move to court. But if it moves to court, there is a possibility that the decision may go against the regulator. But as of now, all insurance companies are settling claims on account of COVID, irrespective of the fact whether it is included or excluded. LIC has settled good number of claims because obviously they have good number of existing customers. But without exception, all insurance companies have wholeheartedly supported the call, which directions, of course, given by the IRD on settlement of claims. Now, this is the situation, Professor Pandey. Any questions on that?
Yes, sir. But okay, sir. In Indian condition, the society is not that litigant. Maybe things will be settled. Maybe that our insurance company. But the way the regulators are behaving, and maybe the government is behaving in the Western country, where they're asking of course, not to life insurance. Just so I want your quick reaction. Settlement of the business interruption claims, even if that is not covered. If that kind of forceful implementation of something which is not otherwise payable comes from the regulator, they are not doing their duty. Their duty is also to support the insurance company. Today morning we have understood from the newspaper that the IRDA has banned distribution of the dividend to the promoters. So this is, okay, fair enough to be fair with the customer, but what about fair to the company itself?
See, all said and done, let us cross the bridge when we reach it. As of now, looking at the present situation, these are the decisions which have been communicated to the insurance companies. Maybe tomorrow, if at all there is ease in doing business going forward, there may be a change in this. Today, banks are also prohibited from declaring dividends. Actually, many banks have skipped the dividends, and same has been made applicable to insurance companies. Now, is it that huge amount of dividend was being paid to the insurance companies? Answer is no. Secondly, is it that promoters are really dependent on the dividends that they get from insurance companies? In my opinion, the answer is no. Can they not wait for a year for things to stabilize? By and large, the heat is felt more by the poor people in pandemic. Always it happens. Not by rich. Promoters, in my opinion, definitely are more rich than the policyholders. So they are in a position to have the brunt of whatever pandemic effect is there and whatever directions are given by the regulator. But again, do not think that these directions will not be modified at all. If at all there is some sort of ease, if we find in pandemics, there is a possibility that government may also direct the regulator, or otherwise also IRDA may take a call that the insurance companies may declare a dividend now.
Thank you, sir. Coming back to the second round, very quick one. Just I would like to know from all the panelists, what are the 2 things, positive things they are looking from this crisis? Amit Malik ji, आपका पहले number.
I think
Pick one.
two positive things, like Amit also said. I think adoption of digital. Every role, every process will have to ask themselves how digital they can be, and if they are not, then they may just cease to exist. So I think that whole piece, from a customer to the process of the insurance company to the fulfillment, everything will become personal. I think that is the first thing. I think the second thing that will also happen is, I don't know whether it is positive or negative, but I think there will be a change in the leadership style. And when I say this, it is, you will start to have leaders who are far more empathetic, and who will have to bring that whole forefront of how do I bring collaboration together and break hierarchies. I think that's a very, very positive step in the organization. Kill complexity is actually the leaders who will demonstrate kill complexity and make things simplified will be the ones who will survive. So I think those are the two things. And I say this because insurance is a highly complex business. So that is why I say this.
Sanjay Jhaji, your take.
Yeah. See, I mean, I will give the example of medical business over here. Like we get bills from hospitals and then we settle regularly. So for this period, we agreed that we won't wait for physical original bills, and we on soft basis will set the claim to all hospitals. But this has got, this is a process. This is not, I'm not very sure as of now that anything negative for insurance company. So what I think that two things are which would be positive out of this whole experience. One, we will all of us would look at all process afresh. All our processes are fresh. Distribution will be another thing in life insurance. Distribution is, when we say that face-to-face selling, distribution is one thing which is going to be impacted if it is going to continue for long, and if we believe that world won't come back to same thing again. There will be this situation would be new normal, this physical distancing and all those things. Then definitely we have to think of new distribution model. Typical agency would be impacted a lot. What is my field? So distribution we have to look at, and overall processes we have to look at fresh costing. The way we are working, can we afford everything with the same luxury? So I think we need to look at many things afresh.
Amit Roy ji,
I think the two positive things I'd like to mention are related in the sense that risk awareness has gone up like anything. We would not have imagined this kind of risk awareness going up by many years, the way it has happened in last 2 months. And as a fallout of that, though everybody is talking about digital, I personally feel one positive thing which is going to happen. For a country like India, you just don't need 2 million agent, you possibly need 20 million agent. And this online, offline combination can give you that 20 million agent with great gender diversity. I think that's a positive thing which is going to happen. On the second thing that I believe is that, like Amit mentioned in his talk, huge kind of upskilling will happen for each and every employee with these changed circumstances. So employees will be gainer if they stick to the industry like never ever before. And that's a great plus positive, according to me.
Sir, your take, sir.
See, Manoj, you had been in insurance industry for a long time, and most of us have been in the insurance industry in the past. What we have seen, what is our past experience? See, whenever there were earthquakes or the floods, the next year was good for the insurance industry. That is our experience. I think one positive maybe, after the pandemics, since everybody will be more aware of insuring himself, insuring his health, there is a great scope going ahead for the health insurance and the life insurance covers going up. And again, more than savings oriented, there is a possibility that the term may go up, because now people will start understanding that they need the sum based on their human life value than on some considerations like this is another way of saving money. So this is possibility. Second is, this is one positive. From regulators' point of view, in my opinion, one positive maybe that the insurance companies, which are not in a position to change quickly, they may not be in a position to survive. I'm not sure whether the number of insurance companies that are there in India are adequate or inadequate. Like Amit said, it's not a question of 20 lakh agents. It should be a 2 lakh agent or 20 lakh agent. It should be many more than that. Whether the insurance companies that are there, really the number is adequate or not adequate, that also will have a relook. There may be mergers and acquisitions going ahead. Good or bad, I'm not saying. What I'm looking at is those who cannot manage with the change. They may either have to quit or they may have to merge with other insurance companies. So these are the two changes. I'm not on to positive or negative, because ultimately what happens, merger doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative thing. Actually, two big insurance companies, if they merge, it may become a formidable competition to the biggest one. So that is a positive. So don't think that merger is always a negative one. But these are the two things which, in my opinion, may be two positives going forward. One, the business is likely to go up substantially in case of health insurance and life insurance, and that too life insurance term. And second, the mergers and acquisitions we may be in a position to see in days to come.
I fully agree, sir. I mean, yesterday I had a talk with one of my cousin who is a branch manager in a private insurance company in a remote, district headquarter in UP. He said कि he's my cousin, so भैया मेरा तो business actually बढ़ गया है. मैंने कहा कैसे बढ़ गया? He simply said two reasons, भैया. First is that people are fearful, so they are looking for insurance. And second, nobody has got any excuse of saying that I am not available, because everybody is available at home and the calls are always possible.
Yes.
So my progress is perfectly fine. I said, अच्छी बात है तुम्हारी नौकरी बची हुई है. Sir, now, before I go for the question and answer, anything, any panelist would like to add something? अगर कुछ दिमाग में आ रहा है आपके, कुछ छूट गया हो?
No, I think the only other positive that I want to mention is I think there will be a huge focus on personal hygiene and personal space, which I think is very good from a humankind perspective, in the country.
That's great. So I will start taking few questions have already come to me. And one is from Dr. Sunil Kadyan and then Ms. Barsa Pandey. And the question is common. In this particular trouble time, when the people are asking for insurance, how do the companies are managing their medical requirements? So that can be answered by Amit Malik ji.
I think I did allude to this in how we are doing it. We are actually starting. We have adopted a video MER, and and talking to the customers and trying to do a video MER with our doctors on panel, specialist doctors to assess, because we absolutely understand that the customer cannot go to the medical center at this stage and do that. So that's one innovative practice that we are starting to talk to people. We have also enabled declaration of good health on our websites, reinforced those questionnaires, relooked at what best we can do, added further and strengthened that so that it gives us more data to be able to take the right decision, both from a customer standpoint and the organization standpoint. So those are the couple of things that we have done.
There is another question that with the tremendous impact on the mortality, likely to be on the higher side, will there be any change in the reinsurance rate in the term insurance? Maybe Sanjay ji or maybe Amit can answer. The question is all about possibility of more death. So will that affect the pricing?
Yes, Sanjay, go ahead.
Amit can also supplement. See, my feel is that definitely the mortality table would undergo some change, but the mortality would be more. That is not very sure, because many accidental deaths are not happening. So in totality, whether overall mortality will go adverse, I don't think so. But age-wise mortality table, these things will change for sure.
Amit, would you like to add? Yeah.
Agree with Sanjay. If you understand the reinsurance business, it's a little different than a normal insurance underwriting that we talk about, and it's sharing of a pool. So if the pool is getting even by lesser death somewhere else and some little death, and if you compare the number, let me quote you. We possibly do not know swine flu and H1N1 had far more mortality than whatever we are seeing now. almost 10 times the number that we have now, and nothing happened to the reinsurance rates at that time.
Maybe because this question, there is some news item in the market that reinsurance rate is likely to go up. Even I have seen, agents sending this message to the people that, yes, sir, please.
Yeah.
Professor Pandeyji, actually the reason is not because of pandemic. Actually, what is seen is the rates of term insurance in India are much less, even as against some developed countries in the world.
Yeah.
And much less means what? To what extent? Almost 50%. Now the question is, if it is not affordable, see, there should not be a cutthroat competition on term rates. Then you will definitely be in soup today or tomorrow. So it is not because of pandemic, but if at all the term rates are unsustainable, then obviously, since your retention limit is less, you will pass on the risk to the reinsurer. And the reinsurer will definitely have a relook at whether the rates which you are quoting are really matching or they are not matching with the experience. And in that case, there is a likelihood that the premium rates of term may go up in India, but again, not much of relevance to it, to the pandemics. It has got something else to look at.
Sir, one question has come which you can perhaps respond, and the question is very simple. When the lockdown was extended, put for 21 days, there was a extension of grace period by 1 month. Again, the lockdown in the majority part of the country has been extended. Do you expect any further relaxation in grace period?
See, actually, the grace period was extended at that point of time with the intent that some alternate arrangement for collection of premium will be made by insurance companies in a month. Are you getting me? Because suddenly this has happened. Now, there are no alternate arrangements with banks or anything. So over a period of time, maybe in a month, you should be in a position to ask the customer that going forward, you go to this bank, which is to your next door, you can pay the premium there. Since 1 month grace period has been extended already, many insurance companies have made alternate arrangements for collection of premium. Though may not be adequate, I'm not saying it is 100% adequate, but time has been given to them. Secondly, Manojji, you tell me, if at all this grace period keeps extending by months together, what will be its effect on the profitability or on the assumptions on which the plans have been designed? Definitely they will go haywire. So at some point of time, we have to have a relook, whether 1 month is enough, if not, maybe 2 months, but cannot be 6 months. So you have to stop at some point of time. So I do not think that it will get extended by months together. It has to stop at some point of time.
There is a question that persistency risk is major concern for any life insurance company. How insurance companies are going to tackle this situation? Maybe both Amit, दोनों आदमी मिलके आप लोग जवाब दीजिए sir. This is a question from my student working in a life insurance company.
Great. So let me start, and Amit Malik can substantiate that. Like I said, very frankly, I feel that persistency will be a challenge this year. Not so much from the perspective of paying capacity, but next 6 months, people for their own reason would like to have liquidity in hand and somehow would like to defer these. Now, possibly new techniques and new stories have to be formed on the insurance company side to manage that. And I know that at least some of the insurers have already started that. It's not in the benefit of the customer, like Saty sir clearly pointed out that they should come and they should pay the renewal premium, because no insurance company would be able to extend it for more than 2 months, because cash flow for the insurance company will take a hit, which is not a great news for the country. Amit Malik, over to you.
Professor Pandey, I hope Trevor was listening to this question, because he sets my persistency target every year, and I hope he listens to this question. Otherwise, we should send him a recording. But on a serious note, I absolutely agree with Amit. And I already said that's the trend that we are seeing, that there will be a challenge. I think from an insurance company standpoint, like I mentioned before, we, not only us, but I think all insurance companies are doing everything that they can to educate and facilitate a customer as to how he or she can come forward and pay. But that whole will issue of why would I not want to wait? The hope that the regulator will extend the grace period, the need that I should wait and see how the pandemic ends. How long is the lockdown going to be? I think those are the questions which bring in a lot of uncertainty to the customer's mind, that the customer is willing to wait. I think the other thing also which will come out is, if you look at it, a lot of people who use insurance as an investment at this time, and we know that many of them do it, will now start to ask themselves, saying, is it an investment that I want to make? And that is where the penny will drop for a lot of insurance companies and customers.
Okay, there is a question from a senior professional, and it is all about the online sales. So whether it will be picking up. As of now, to best of my knowledge, as per the last IRDA report, the online sale policy, I mean, life insurance is not even 2%. So after this, maybe after 2 years, where do you see this percentage? Amit ji, both Amit again.
Okay.
Sanjay is out of country, may not be in touch.
I'll take this.
No, but in Oman,
Yeah.
it will definitely increase.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Amit, boliye.
I think absolutely it will increase, because online contactless sales, just like Amit said, that it will increase. But I think what, as an insurance company, we need to keep in mind is that the products have to be simpler and made simplified, so that it's easy for the customer to understand. The more simple the product, the more easy it will be to sell online. The more complex the product, the more difficult it will be to sell online, and that's the challenge from a product standpoint that the insurance companies have, to be able to encourage online. But that is the way to go.
Amit ji, would like to add? Amit Rai?
Just to add, I think in my perspective, what do you call online depends. Possibly a sales agent with a digital app and a complete digital selling should also be construed as online. And like I said before, I see huge upsurge of having that kind of a situation for future will happen for sure. On the other part, on the process part, like Amit said, I believe it's going to be next decade will be a decade of image and voice, instead of paper and whatever, medicals that you see. A lot of process, because if it changes on voice and image, would make the onboarding frictionless for the customer, which can actually give a dramatic surge in terms of online kind of an onboarding. Look at the way that Swiggy and Zomato has taken off because of the frictionless situation. If insurance industry can think of processes with relating to voice and image, we are looking at a very interesting decade now.
Okay, one question has come, and I believe Sathe sir can be very honest in this. Do you see any sort of cost cutting, drop in the employment, or firing from the companies? Amit will not give this answer, I know. Sathe sir, your take on this. This is very serious. I mean, of course, it's a little bit pessimistic question, but that is the reality.
Professor Pandey, there is a saying, when going gets tough, the tough gets going. This is a stage where we are going through a very difficult situation. We simply cannot expect that there will not be layoffs or there will not be, terminations of employees. We simply cannot expect. Because at some point of time, whatever compassion the employer may have, he will definitely look at cutting the corners. He will definitely look at how do I cut the cost. And wherever the efficiencies are low, those costs will definitely be cut, may it be on machines or may it be on men. So, to be frank with you, till there is again upsurge, when the tough is not going out, till that time, the days are tough. But going forward, maybe after a year or so, there will be a turnaround. And turnaround will be more fast than what it was in the past. So maybe there may be a lull situation as of now, but the days are not so bad in coming years.
Yes, Amit Malik ji, you raised that.
I just wanted to add on to what Sathe sir said is, I think this is where the regulator has to partner with the insurance companies, just like regulator has focused on the customers for all the examples that the Sathe sir gave. This is where the regulator has to come and support the insurance companies because none of the insurance companies would want to go down that path. I don't know of any who have plans as of now, but none of them would want to go down that path. And we look towards regulatory support to be able to do this for the larger employee base and population.
There's a question from Dr. Asrani to Sanjay Kumar Jhaji. Because of this oil prices crashing and economy in deep trouble in Gulf, do you see any increase in the abuse of medical insurance in your country?
I don't think any link between these two in terms of abuse, because you are not earning out of any endowment type of, somebody is sick and he gets, we do not pay any money to any individual in medical insurance. So the abuse would be there even now, nothing linked to this oil price and all that.
Okay, one question is related with underwriting. I don't know, maybe Amit you can give, or maybe Sanjay itself. After having recovered from the corona as infection, what would be the fate of these people when they are going for the insurance next time? Because this is a question which is not there in any questionnaire in India.
Yeah, maybe the questionnaire, health questionnaire. I don't think it has somebody is infected. It doesn't impact his future morbidity or mortality. So once infected, he develops antibody and then he is sort of immune. So it doesn't add to his any chronic condition or anything. So personally, I don't feel that it will have any adverse impact in underwriting.
But Manojji,
Yes, sir.
I think there may be a question added in the proposal form going
I was
forward.
about to say this.
Did you suffer from COVID-19 any time in the past? I think so. Maybe at least from data collection point of view, not necessarily whether to refuse.
From pricing point of view.
Pricing point of view.
There is a question: what kind of new product you people feel? Amit, Royji, your take.
I think India has seen quite a few new products in the pandemic situation, and a record sort. And actually, the regulator deserves kudos for approving all those new products on the medical side in a record time. It's a corona cover given to all health insurance provider. I think such kind of disease-specific products will be the flair of the year. Will not be sustainable in long term, though. But I tend to believe that a lot of new term cover with short duration will be up in the market. Earlier we have seen last 2 years lot of covers up to 100 years of age. We can actually see a very different travel on the north side now towards the other part of the thing, that you can see possibly a very short-term term cover and incident-specific covers. That's something which is could be the flair of the thing. That's my guess. Maybe Sanjay, Amit.
Yeah, I was exactly thinking of that. That maybe pre-underwritten 1-year term insurance.
Yes.
This could be a very hot sell for online.
So if I'm going to Italy, for my vacation, I love the country. Let's say my tickets were booked, and let's say it's a non-refundable ticket. I take a 1-year term cover and go there. That kind of, requirements could be there. I don't know. Such talks are on, right?
Yeah, we had a similar question from Sir Rahul Chaurasia, that can we have some sort of over-the-counter product like this? I think similar to that. If maybe some.
He's linking with the eKYC norm, which has been allowed very recently. Sir, Sathe sir, aapka kuch stake? Your view. That question was addressed to you only.
No. See, Manojji, to be frank with you, actually, whatever proposals will come as new form of products, they will definitely be looked into by IRDAI with a positive frame of mind. This is one part. Second is, as a regulator doesn't suggest anything to the market. If markets come out with some innovative products, they will look into it, assess it if the underwriting has been done properly, and will approve. This is one part. Second is, going forward, definitely there will be, as Amit also has said, there will be a demand for short-term term covers, maybe just for a period of a month or two when I am going to Italy, only for that period, that if something happens to me when I am in Italy, just take an example, such type of covers there is a possibility that it may be asked for from the insurance companies. And if they come, I don't think the regulator will be shy of approving such products if the valuations are done properly.
There is
See,
one question from
Manoj,
Mr. Yeah.
Yeah, Manoj, in
Please.
the product side, like say workman compensation, as an employer, there is a responsibility to provide a safe, secure, hygienic working office or environment. Suppose people work from home, and in that case, does employer have a responsibility towards providing some similar environment at home? And if not, which is not, I mean, in my opinion, in that case, whether workman compensation type of product is extended at home, something happens at home while he's working, say 7 hours or 8 hours of work time. If something happens during that time, something accidental, so whether current workman compensation does not cover. Maybe on exception basis we can cover for this period of time, transit time, but product wise, we do not have product where work from home is covered under workman compensation.
That's a great point. Rakeshji, how much time you have?
No, but
Already we have crossed 1 hour.
Yeah, we have crossed 1 hour. We are approaching our end, so we can take few more questions and then
Okay.
we can close.
So there is a very genuine question, and the question from Mr. M.A. Mateen, that the life insurance industry process is, there are so many stakeholders, particularly many questions are coming on the medical underwriting part, where we have to connect with the doctors and get their report and integrate in the underwriting process. So when can we have a system where everything will be connected and will be totally digital? How long? How much time it can take?
आधार लिंक कर दीजिए.
नहीं, मेडिकल वाली बात है, इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न वाली बात है, so many things. We get so many input before we go for underwriting. Any guess how much time industry should take?
I think Amit mentioned that very commendably. Most of the industry side chief operating officers have, I really salute them, the way they have taken this step of MER over WhatsApp videos and things like that. And I think, telemedical will be the call of the hour. And again I am saying that maybe the new technology will be based on voice, data and image. That possibly will change the face of underwriting that we have never seen before. I think those are the changes which we can expect in 12 to 18 months' time.
Okay, that's a great positive coming from you. Yes, Rakesh sir, I think we have covered most of the questions. So now back to you.
There are two questions, one from Nepal and at Bangladesh. I would like to just very quickly.
Please, aap puchiye, sir. Yes, please.
Yeah, it is from Mr. Kaji Ali from Bangladesh. Do you think that morale of human capital will go up and corrupt practices will come down?
Open question, eh?
Yeah, this is an open question.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
COVID is a
Mhm.
COVID. The whole COVID experience has been great leveler. Everybody is, I mean, Gita का ज्ञान पढ़ाता है कि भाई पैसे से लेकर कुछ होना नहीं है ज़्यादा. So definitely the corrupt practice should go down. I mean, very philosophically, but maybe Mr. Amit.
It is the era of unknown, so nobody knows what is in future. And one more question.
I just want to add, I think the whole moral compass piece has got redefined, whether it is from an organization standpoint or whether it is from an individual standpoint. And I think that whole moral compass that has got redefined by virtue of this COVID will at some point start to reflect. It already has started to reflect, but will reflect in our daily lives.
Yeah, one question from Mr. Shom Sharma from Nepal. Recently, Nepal's insurance industry issued COVID-19 insurance policy amid international reinsurer non-acceptance for pandemic cover. So what could be the best and worst case scenario if this action from insurance, say if reinsurer does not accept pandemic coverage? Maybe in terms of, they are asking in terms of Nepal scenario.
I can take that up. We work extensively with Nepal regulator, and we have been last 1.5 years. We have been helping them with the formation of some kind of a not regulation but setup of regulation. Let's say, I think largely every regulator, like Sathe sir also explained, they are people focused. Okay. They are not so much on insurance stakeholder focus, and they definitely have to see the longevity of the industry. but largely they will look at people's interest, should be the focus for the regulator, and rightly so across the world. That's the thing. So from that aspect, I believe that regulator will be again people focused and take the decision in favor of the consumer.
So I now think that the questions are unending. So we have endless questions, and maybe we will be needing a number of hours to answer
But
these
one question, sir, even I am interested that has come through Sathe, sir. So looking at all this genuine difficulty for the insurance company, stock market is down, bond market is down. Why can't we relax this solvency margin requirement for some time? As you said that for so many things we are relaxing for some time. Why can't it be, this can be relaxed? This is from Mr. LK Sham Sundar, sir.
The shareholders are strong.
Yes. Actually, see, to be frank with you, I'm not in that chair to decide on.
No, your
But
personal view, sir.
Maybe going forward, when the Life Council may take up with IRDA, when it will be seen as per the quarterly accounts and quarterly results which are finalized, that it is becoming very, very tough for the insurance companies to keep on the solvency at 1.5, or putting in additional capital is going to be very tough. IRDA may take a call and relax it. But as of now, see, 1.5 from where it has come. It can be 1, it can be 1.25, it can be 1.75. Actually, if you have a risk-based capital approach, then the more risky business you are doing, you should have more solvency margin.
It could be product specific.
It can be product specific also. Yeah. So that is something which IRDA may look at. But as of now, IRDA is of a view, like I may say, from a socialistic point of view, not a capitalistic one, that those who have got capital, they can withstand the current situation for a longer period of time than the poor policyholders for whom a lot of relief is required to be given. So I think that, as of now, appears to be the focus of the regulator, but it may undergo a change.
Over to you, Rakesh ji.
So I think now we are coming to the end of the session. So thanks a lot to all of the panelists for coming to this online webinar and sparing your valuable time. So it was quite enriching to hear you all, and I hope all our attendees are also benefited from it. So we look forward to arranging this sort of discussion again. Thanks a lot to everyone, and thanks a lot, Manoj ji, for having excellent moderation.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you very much, all my seniors, colleagues. I mean, sir, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Mr. Roy, Mr. Jha.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. See you again.
Nilesh, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all
everybody.
participants.
Thank you.
Yes,
Joining from
Thank you
India,
very much.
Bangladesh, Nepal, and Middle East and other overseas countries. Thank you. In case of any suggestion, you can always mail us, and you have a feedback form at the end. Please do fill that feedback form, and see you again in our next session. So for more session, you can visit our website of rmeindia.org. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor
Thank
Pandey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Rakesh ji.
Amit. Bye, Sanjay.
Bye.
Bye, Rakesh ji. Bye.
Hello. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, Rakesh ji. Bye.